I recently bought my very first Birkenstocks. The shoes I swore I'd never buy. Haunted by images of Birks and socks and likening them to Jesus sandals, I was adamant that a pair would never grace my feet. And then I moved to Palermo, somewhere between the heat and the easygoing Sicilian vibe, coupled with the fact that they are pretty much popping up everywhere right now. My mind slowly changed, and now here we are. But there was something I wasn't prepared for. Blisters and pain with a capital P. Now you might be thinking, well, that's pretty normal for a new shoe, but this was next level. In fact, I've got the scars to prove it. For the first time in my life, I actually had to Google how to wear a shoe. And that's when the penny dropped. Countless articles and videos on YouTube revealed that Birkenstocks are not immediately the world's most comfortable shoe. You have to break them in. And it is a process that can take some people weeks. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the fact I didn't gently break my Birkenstocks in meant that despite the scars and pain, after a week of stuffing them with socks and just letting them be, they are now finally okay to wear. Unwittingly, I had fast-tracked the process, but it came at a price. It completely tarnished my first experience with this not very cheap shoe. But you see, it's not just Birkenstocks that need breaking in. So do you, if you plan to move to Italy. Now, I feel comfortable in saying that this is applicable whether you move to the north or to the south. You will encounter challenging situations and moments, although maybe, just maybe, your patience will be tested more the further south you go. Getting used to life here takes time. I don't know of anyone who has unpacked their suitcase and immediately started living La Dolce Vita. You'll have moments of bliss, sure, but they will also be peppered with frustration and comparison. Overall, it ends up being a very personal reflection of who you are as a person. There is nothing quite like living in unfamiliar surroundings, thousands of miles away from your birth country, to really get to know yourself on a much deeper level. We live in a society that thrives on instant gratification. We need the instant reward or dopamine hit that justifies our every action. It's no wonder then that people move to Italy without considering that your arrival only marks the beginning of your journey and not the final destination. This summer, I will have been living in South Italy for 5 years. Was it instant champagne and unicorns when I arrived? No. Once the initial charm and excitement had worn off, which it will, I navigated some real difficulties here, including a breakdown. Only now do I feel that I am really starting to settle into life here. There are many aspects of life that I have adjusted to, many cultural traditions that I have learnt, and many ways of thinking that I can acknowledge, but will never really truly accept. Breaking something in, whether that be your new pair of Birkenstocks or a new life in Italy, is never without some kind of discomfort. The exact extent you'll feel is entirely dependent on the person, which is why comparison is never the path to take. What is easy for me could be the most difficult thing in the world for you, and vice versa. Just like there are a few key steps to breaking in your Birks, stuffing them with socks, wearing them for short periods around the house, there are also some key steps to breaking in your new life in Italy. The first is tolerance. Tolerance for what is. Life in Italy is not going to change to accommodate your arrival, however difficult that may be to come to terms with. You have to accept Italy for what it is, warts and all. Tolerance isn't easy for us perfectionists, who are so used to having everything just right. But take it from me, you'll only drive yourself stir crazy if you try to maintain this characteristic here. I will never agree with the ignorance of drivers here. I will never agree with people who litter the streets and roads here. I will never agree with the ridiculous bureaucracy here. But it is important for me to understand that this is life here. Why? Because otherwise, quite frankly, the stress alone will make me ill. And of course, there is the glaringly obvious fact that I have chosen Italy to be my home. Secondly, you need to have patience. Pazienza. Such a beautiful word that I created my very own merch complete with that phrase. But it's not an easy word to adopt. In the south of Italy, life operates to a whole different timetable. You need to have patience. In the south of Italy, bureaucracy is like stepping back in time, 20 years to be precise. You need to have patience. Everything in the south of Italy, in my opinion, requires a degree of patience. I'm a naturally impatient person, and so this is one aspect that I have found particularly challenging here. However, the longer I spend in the south of Italy, the more I come to understand that not everything in life is meant to unfold immediately. We might think that we want to move to Italy and instantly have the friends and connections, or the job, or the relaxed lifestyle just waiting for us, packaged in a pretty box with a bow. However, if that were the case, imagine the lessons we wouldn't learn, the growth we wouldn't have, and the person we might never become. If we never had to wait for anything, if we never had to display patience, we would actually end up missing out on so much. Patience is our greatest teacher. For me, it isn't a passive expression, but rather one that can make us slow down and be more intentional with the actions that we end up taking. Which leads me nicely into the third key step, which is a beautiful Italian expression, piano piano. Translation, slowly, slowly. Again, so good, I created a merch line complete with this phrase. You have to take things slowly here. You have to be kind with yourself and take your time. Moving to Italy requires sometimes a complete cultural shift. It is like learning everything again from scratch. This expression sums up the whole breaking in process. If we run with our life in Italy and arrive with super high, unrealistic expectations, it's likely that after a short time you will experience a degree of discomfort. However, if we take our time and adopt the piano piano approach, really absorbing where we are, taking in the traditions, the culture, cultivating friendships and connections, I truly believe that you will have a more enriched experience here. There is no fixed time frame. You haven't failed if it takes you 6 years to feel settled in Italy, and you're not a champion if it only takes you 6 months. It's so hard to depict life in Italy in a generalised way because we are all so unique with our own lifestyles and reasons for living here. The most important thing to remember is that there is a breaking in process. You can choose to skip it and try to fast forward, but then you have to accept the uncomfortable moments that will come with that and the distorted view of life here that will inevitably follow. Or you can choose to slowly break in your new life in Italy, adopting tolerance, patience, and a piano piano approach, minimizing the discomfort and ultimately creating a much better first impression of what is just the beginning of the biggest adventure of your life.